Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to Game Brigade. If you are new here, welcome to the show. Today we're going to be diving into Masters of the Universe by CMON Games, just launched on Kickstarter, and we're going to be doing the breakdown, seeing what is good or bad about this campaign, and whether or not we should be considering backing this or waiting for retail. If that sounds interesting to you, please stay tuned for more. Otherwise, let's hit it. Okay, so as you guys know, it's been a little bit since I feel like I've had a conversation with you through a Kickstarter video. So thank you guys for checking out the show and welcome back. Again, timestamps down below for your convenience. We usually do these kind of updates in the beginning. First off, if you guys can really help me out, it would be greatly appreciated if you can give me a like on the video. Greatly helps me support with the YouTube algorithm, so I really appreciate anyone who chooses to help me in that way. Let's try to break 100 likes this video. Really helps. Other than that, we just posted the video of the 10 games that surprised me most this week. If you haven't seen that, check it out. I really enjoyed making that video. In fact, I can't count. It's only 9 videos, but whatever. Only 9 games, but whatever. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hit the campaign. So we're going to be taking a look at Masters of the Universe, the board game Clash for Eternia. Now, this is the US version. I'm sorry if you guys are part of EU, Europe. Unfortunately, they have 2 separate campaigns. So this one will be specifically for US backers as well as some other around the world areas if you can afford the shipping. It's unfortunately a little high. So we are day 1, 16 days to go. We are already at 3,594 backers, almost to 700,000. And this game is going to be a one versus many or fully cooperative game. And I have talked about in the past how one versus many games has been kind of an outdated gameplay style, something that I'm not personally into, but I like that they are attempting to do this differently than what other one versus many games are. In most one versus many games that we play, usually you're going to have one player who's going to be the evil faction, you know, the overlord, the empire, whatever it may be. And generally, the person who fulfills that role is the person who is the owner of the game or who has the most intimate knowledge of the game. So you never get an opportunity to really play as the good people. You never really get a chance to experience the heroes of the game. Well, Clash of Eternia, the Master of the Universe, is actually taking an alternative look at that and basically saying that either faction, either the good guys or the bad guys, can play as the one role, and it doesn't really give you that feeling that you are the evil player. You're going to take control of your champions, your heroes, and then the alternative players, the many, will all be taking on a certain amount of heroes based on your player count. I do like that based on the player count, you can kind of fulfill, like, do we need 4 heroes, or do we want to run 2 heroes, or do we want to run with 2 players more heroes? Do I want to multi-fist multiple champions? I think it's interesting that the game is balanced well enough that you could kind of integrate based on your play style. So I think that's really cool. And it basically means that anyone could kind of fill the role of the controller, is what they call this, the overlord player. And I don't necessarily think it has to be the person who has the most intimate knowledge of the game. I think it can be anyone that goes to the player group could really fulfill that role. So I think that's a great aspect to this one versus many game, and one that I would probably be more apt to taking a look at this over that. So let's break down the pledge levels. Currently, we only have 2 pledge levels. Every time we have a CMON Games campaign, they're always going to have multiple different pledge levels. Usually have an all-in as well as the standard pledge, and then they have a bunch of add-ons. Currently, we only have 1 add-on available, and it's the second pledge level, which is what most of the people are looking at. But what my recommendations are in terms of CMON Games are the base pledge is usually incredible value for you because of the Kickstarter exclusives. Unless you need to get all in, unless you really are part of this world, you really enjoying the IP or the mechanics of the gameplay, I urge people to kind of wait a little bit on looking at the all-in, see how things flesh out, and go from there. So let's kind of dive into the $110 pledge, which is a little bit more expensive than most of the CMON Games pledges. They normally do $100. I'm wondering if the extra $10 is kind of taking account for the higher pricing of production as well as shipping. I suspect that's part of it. So $110 will get you the base pledge, which will include, I believe, the 7 heroes for both factions. You have He-Man, He-Man on Battle Cat, Man-at-Arms, Telia, and if I cannot pronounce something properly, please just forgive me. Stratos, Orko, and Ram Man. I will say that when I was growing up, Master of the Universe was always toys that my friends had, but I never watched the show. I was more of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle kid, or Transformers, and I never even had these toys, but my friends had He-Man toys, and I was always kind of jealous of them. And then we've got Skeletor on Panther, Triclops, Beastman, Evelyn, Her Man, it's Her Man, and Trapjaw. Who knows the reference, the Her Man reference? Who knows that? And then you're going to get the minions. And this will be both sides for Eternia as well as Skeletor's minions. These are going to be not like player champions. They're going to be minions that you'll be using or summoning to kind of muck up the battlefield for both sides. And you're also going to have elite minions. So you're going to have the Royal Guards and the Shadow Beasts. And then we're going to take a look at the battlefield board here. Now, the battlefield board is probably the least exciting part of the game. It's a very drab board. In fact, when I saw the early production types of these, it looked like Gloomhaven to me. I was like, this looks like Gloomhaven, and nothing exciting. It still kind of looks like Gloomhaven to me, to be honest with you. But you have the battlefield board, and you're going to have these tiles here for different types of terrain. Now, we do know that they're probably going to be alternating a lot of this stuff out for 3D tiles or terrain pieces. So expect that. But this is currently what you get in the Kickstarter base version. And then we've got the tracker boards. Now, these are upgraded from the stretch goals. So they are plastic boards for both the controller as well as the players. You have the dice, the power cubes, and all of the cards for the characters. Overall, the value of this game in terms of the single player, or not the single player, in terms of the base pledge is going to really come down to what do you feel like you enjoy with these characters? Is it going to be worth it? I think, in my opinion, the game is going to really break down to the individual heroes that are unlocked through the stretch goals, because the game's mechanics really are shining through when you have every individual champion or individual character with their powers and abilities. So for me, the most important part of the game will be taking a look at the stretch goals. So I do think that this, from looking at what potentially could be retail versus what's Kickstarter exclusive, I'm leaning that this is not as good of a deal at retail version. So the Kickstarter exclusives are really going to be pushing me in terms of if I would be backing this or not. They have the second pledge so doubling your pledge. You're looking at the Defender of the Grayskull pledge, which will come with the core box as well as the Assault on Castle Grayskull. It also includes the plastic Castle Grayskull pack. So what we're looking at here is the Assault on Castle Grayskull. This expansion is an alternative play mode where you'll be defending and or assaulting the castle and playing whatever side you wish to play on. So it's an alternative play style, includes some alternative modes as well as some more furniture for you to play around with. The retail version of this is just going to be a flat board, while if you purchase this through Kickstarter, you can get the actual Castle Grayskull as a Kickstarter exclusive. When I was watching this video here, we're going to have sound. Let's see. This right here just reminds me of being 6 years old. Like, these are toys that I literally grew up with, Mattel toys. And I think that is kind of what they're aiming for when they're targeting this. I think this is really targeting, the people that are 30 to 40 years old who grew up in the 80s and, played with things like this. This is what I'm really thinking of. So this is a breakdown of that Assault on Castle Grayskull expansion. This middle piece here is the actual castle that you'll be defending, and you'll be moving around while the other person's attacking. And then alternatively, here's what the castle would look like if you got the Kickstarter exclusive with the opening door. It's cool. Is it worth it? I feel like I would really have to be drawn in by the nostalgia feature. It's cool. Can I see myself playing this? I don't know. My wife might judge me a little bit. She'd be like, "Did I marry a 6-year-old?" And yeah, effectively yes. So that's the breakdown. But let's take a look at these stretch goals, because like I said, these stretch goals are going to be the biggest factor. See, look at this. This is basically my childhood right here in terms of playing with toys. Now, I didn't play with this specific like these toys, but this reminds me of playing with GI Joes and whatnot. Like, if they had GI Joe Kickstarter, I mean, they probably have. I can't remember. They'd be pretty incredible. So let's scroll on down, though, because really the most important thing are the stretch goals, and we're looking at, is this worth backing for Kickstarter or not? They are going to have daily secret reveals. We're going to be releasing something every day. Right now we've got King Randor. These are going to be default. We're getting these regardless. And then the stretch goals are monetarial based. So based on how high or how well the campaign does, the more you're going to get. I love this model. I love it when they have the daily unlocks. That means people are going to be checking back every day to see what you got. But you're also going to have the monetary unlocks, which to me is what makes Kickstarter fun. I know we have talked about that they're fake or they're kind of half-baked. But to be honest, it is what really makes Kickstarter fun, when you're kind of like, what am I getting? What unlocked? How far are we from the next unlock? So I actually really like the dual melding of the Kickstarter unlocks. So we've got Buzz Off. Oh, and before I go off, Buzz Off made me say that. Again, I think the value of this game is really going to come down to the actual faction minis and figures that you're getting, because the individual pieces, their individual abilities are what's going to make this a fun skirmish battle game. So Buzz Off. We then have Spikor. Then we're going to go down to Mechaneck, and then Clawful. The deadly plants are part of the 3D terrain that I mentioned already. Snout, Web Store, more deadly plants, different model of them. This one has the tongue sticking out. These ones don't. And these are also very big. These models are referenced, I think, on 36 millimeters, and these are taller than these models. So they're going to have a table presence with them. Extendar, and I think these names are so interesting. Like, these are very blast attack, more 3D boulders. So again, I was talking about in terms of the 3D terrain. And then we're currently at Mossman. So Mosquitor is the next person that we're looking at unlocking. I suspect we're at 690,000, roughly almost 700,000. Generally, these CMON games, end between 1.5, 2 million, sometimes higher based on the campaign and the IP. I could easily see this reaching at least 2 million by the end of the campaign. So we're going to have plenty of stretch goals to take a look at. And then here is a breakdown of the optional buys. Now, we already saw that the all-in for the castle plus the Defender of Grayskull battle pack is $110 together. Or you could just buy the castle, the hunk of plastic, for $75. And alternatively, if you just want the Assault on Castle Grayskull, you could buy this by itself for $50. Right now, there's nothing in this that is Kickstarter exclusive. So if you are not wanting the plastic castle, I would recommend personally waiting on this. Play your base game, see if you like it enough, and then pick this up at retail if you want to add it later. So that is the breakdown in terms of the entire campaign. We're going to take a look at the shipping costs and then give you my final thoughts. The shipping right now, we're talking about the US, is 18 to 30 for just the base game. If you get the Defender of Grayskull, so the bigger box, you're looking between 20 and 35. So I would also encourage you to look at the costs in terms of, is it worth picking up now or later. This is pretty standard shipping prices for right now. Luckily, they're not 40 or 50, which I have seen for games that can be this big. But beware that this could change as we get more games added to the all-in. So that is a quick breakdown of the campaign. What do I think? Is this worth backing, or would I wait? Right now, I am not a backer of the Masters of the Universe, but I do think backing at the base pledge level is worth it, because the retail version does not appear to me like it's going to be very highly demanded. People who are going to want this game are going to want the Kickstarter exclusives. I don't think there's enough there for the retail to warrant its $80 to $100 price tag that's going to be priced. So for effectively the same price, you're going to be able to score all the extra Kickstarter exclusives. And if the game does not sit well with you, if it doesn't play like the way you want to play it, you're going to be able to resell this game and cover your bases. So I think that's a good option. In terms of buying more, in terms of going to the all-in, we obviously don't know what they're including yet with the all-in purchase, but knowing CMON Games, there's going to be probably 3 more mini expansions, and there's plenty of stuff they can do. I wish I knew more about the IP to give ideas in terms of what we can expect. Reading the comments, people are talking about She-Ra and whatnot. Again, I don't know enough about it to kind of see what might be worth it for CMON to include, but knowing their business model, there's a very high probability that they're going to be included. So I would be heavily looking at this based on how far we get down in terms of the Kickstarter exclusives. I will probably be backing this just so that I can play it. And if I don't like it, I'm going to feel confident enough that I could resell this and move it on. I do, again, want to encourage people and stress that you don't always have to go all in. While it's great for resellers, if you want to move that on later, they do take up a lot of room in your collection. It's a whole bunch of boxes. Storage becomes a nightmare. So just be aware of it. Because there's so many plastic minis, every single one is going to be individually boxed, like every pack, and they're hard to kind of combine into one. So there's my unsolicited extra bit of advice. If this video was helpful for you, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you guys' thoughts are. Otherwise, I'll talk to you all soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.